Okay. All right, cool. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. 6G Agenda, Book Club Mondays. Welcome back. I'm your host, Andrew, here again with my man, Justin Ward on the chords.
Yo,
And as always, we talk about what they want. And
indeed.
today, we're getting back into that secret teachings of all ages. Getting into that first crazy chapter, the ancient mysteries and the secret societies. This is going to be a good one, packed with all the fun stuff, straight from the horse's mouth. Good shit. First off,
Fuck yeah.
thanks for everybody that pulled up last week. We had a good time. I think people kind of enjoyed the format a little bit of just kind of reading out of the book a little bit, because there's a lot in there and it kind of reads pretty good. It reads pretty good. There's some bangers like in every paragraph,
Yeah.
like something to talk about,
Some shit that makes you think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good morning, Cake in a Cup. Welcome,
Yo.
everybody. Yeah, so I'm thinking we'll get into that in a minute. I'll show you some comments. We got some love here recently on Spotify. We're getting up there on
Hell yeah.
we're getting up there, dude. Almost 20,000 motherfuckers. Plays, not people. So let me get this here. This is as best I could do here. So $28. Gotta get into the Gnostic series. We'll get deeper into it. Grand Theft World has the best webs. Hell yeah, Wasabi. The Bolshevik episode we did, if you haven't checked that out, I believe it might have been before we did the YouTube stuff. Definitely go check it out. It's on our Spotify. If you're gonna support the show, donate, anything like that, the links are on Spotify, Apple. You can find it in the show description. If you're on YouTube, for some reason, the links don't actually make them clickable. You can copy and paste if you feel obliged, but otherwise, liking, rating, and sharing is just a great way to help us out as well. Hogfart, love 7 C's, hell yeah. Wade, welcome, welcome. I've been found mainly P Hall. I'm just talking about him now, though. So yeah, we have lots of good shit to get into. This Christian nationalism shit is growing, though. Have you been seeing it? Have you been seeing it since I've been talking about it?
A little bit, yeah, here and there.
It's getting weird, dude. I mean, Trump's talking about we're gonna go invade Nigeria if they don't stop killing Christians, but they're
Yo,
killing Christians.
relax.
Yeah, but they're killing Christians in Ukraine, or they're shutting down churches and they're persecuting Christians. So it's
Yeah.
like kind of a thing where it's like, but they call Ukraine little Israel. It starts to make sense whenever you look at it that way. It's kind of weird. Israel's weaponizing Christianity here on the homeland here, but they're doing what they really want to do in Ukraine. So that's kind of how I look at that. Just a thought. It's pretty crazy, dude. It's coming quick. But yeah, we will see how it goes. You got people like Nick Fuentes, saying that we need a Catholic theocracy. And I'm like, dude, it's not gonna be a theocracy that they really want. It's a theocratic technocracy is what we're gonna end up with. And that's what I worry about. So with that being said, watch out for that shit. It is definitely growing. Anything else? You got anything, Justin? We'll get into it.
Now let's get into this book, dude. I'm interested.
Yeah, dude. Ancient mysteries and secret societies. This gets into the history, the origins of secret societies, and the mystery esoteric wisdom.
Okay.
So we went over a little bit of this in the symbolism episode last week,
Hmm.
but it's worth getting back into. The beginning of this chapter was perfect to kind of lay out that symbolism episode in the beginning of that one, but it's worth reiterating. When confronted with a problem involving the use of reasoning faculties, individuals of strong intellect keep their poise and they seek a solution, obtaining facts bearing upon the question at hand. And those of immature mentality, on the other hand, they get overwhelmed. And while the former may be qualified to solve the riddle of their own destiny, the people that get overwhelmed need to be led around like flock of sheep and taught in simple language.
Mm.
This is where the idea of teaching the literal interpretations to people comes in, because the mob, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of seeing that with the Christian nationalist shit is what I would point to is what they call the mob. And I agree with that part.
Yeah.
You can, it's something about that, man. You can get the majority of people would, enslave themselves without knowing better. You know what I mean? Just thinking that they're doing the right thing.
Right.
So they depend almost entirely upon the shepherd. The apostle Paul said that these little ones must be fed with milk, but the meat is the food of the strong men. In other words, thoughtlessness is synonymous with childlessness or childishness, while thoughtfulness is symbolic of maturity. And so, yeah, there are only few mature minds. Now, this is where it gets into it. The few mature minds aspect is what they think. And that's why they created secret societies in the first place, because they believe that they had this secret knowledge that only few could understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so philosophic religious doctrines get divided into these doctrines of like paganistic pantheons that we see.
Yeah.
And so there's two fundamental groups of human intellect. One's philosophic and the other is incapable of appreciating the deeper mysteries in life. And so the esoteric or the spiritual teachings are only for the qualified, while the unqualified only receive the exoteric or the literal interpretations for many stories or, things like that. So, in order to make simple the great truths of nature and the abstract principles of natural law, the vital forces of the universe were personified, and then that's when they became gods and goddesses of the ancient mythologies. So they're saying that they don't actually worship gods and goddesses, they worship the mysteries that they represent.
Yeah.
And so the ignorant are the ones worshiping the altar, practicing, in front of a statue, bowing and, that kind of shit.
The ones getting the milk.
Exactly. It says right here, in all cities of the ancient world were temples for public worship and offering. In every community also were philosophers and mystics. Deeply versed in nature's lore, these individuals were usually banded together, forming seclusive philosophic and religious schools. The more important of these groups were known as the mysteries. This is where the mystery schools comes in. Many of the great minds of antiquity were initiated into the secret fraternities by strange and mysterious rites, some of which were extremely cruel. So it kind of gets into the idea that with the decline of where it talks about how they, people started to worship ISIS and things like that, and doing the what would you call it? I guess like the drug induced sex rites that they would do. Like you've heard of like the Eleusinian
Yeah.
the Eleusinian mysteries, right? Fertility
Yeah.
rituals, that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
shit. That's where this started, right?
Okay.
And so I don't even think that has to do with any real spirituality. I think that was just some shit like the profane would do, or maybe not. Maybe that was what they're saying is like
They were out there
here.
having fun doing it.
Yeah. It says, after being initiated, these initiates were instructed in the secret wisdoms which have been preserved for the ages. And so Plato initiated one of these sacred orders. So Plato, he was involved, I believe he was initiated in the Pyramid of Giza. He was one of the few people that went into the king's chamber and
Yeah.
did an initiation ritual.
Damn.
Yeah, dude.
That's
He
pretty
was
special.
severely criticized because of his writings. He revealed too much to the public about the secret philosophic principles of the mysteries. Every pagan nation, not only its state religion, but another into which its philosophic elect alone have gained entrance. What is this? Oh, yeah. Many of these ancient cults vanished from the earth without revealing their mysteries. So it's saying that it's kind of a shell of what it was because people just die and then nobody
Mhm.
finds out. And that's kind of why I don't really fall into any of these cults because I'm like, yo, what do you're taking bits and pieces and then manipulating that into the whole story. Your
Right.
version.
Forming their own.
Exactly. Hey, welcome. This is a new, maybe not new listener, new commenter, real RD of time. Welcome, welcome.
What up?
We're getting into the origins of the mysteries and coming out of antiquity, a lot of the ancient wisdom. People like Plato, Socrates, they were all initiated into the mystery schools, and their philosophical teachings embody what Freemasonry and other mystery schools are. The the decline of virtue, which was the preceded the destruction of every nation of history, the mysteries became perverted and sorcery took the place of the divine magic. And this is some shit that we kind of talked about before with Atlantis, how the material gods, god kings started
Mhm.
doing crazy shit. Indescribable practices were introduced and perversions ruled supreme, for no institution can be any better than the members of which it is composed. So, in despair, the few who were true sought to preserve the secret doctrines from oblivion. And so, in some cases, they succeeded. But more often, the arcanum was lost and only the empty shell of the mystery remains. It's
Mm.
pretty nuts, dude. Man is naturally a religious animal. From the earliest drawings of, or dawnings rather, of consciousness, man has worshipped and revered things as symbolic of invisible, omnipresent, and indescribable thing, concerning which he could discover practically nothing about. The pagan mysteries opposed the Christians during the early centuries of their church, declaring that the new faith did not demand virtue and integrity, uh, but expressed himself on the subject of the following. Oh, he's saying that. Oh, yeah, because in Christianity they talk about how it's the prostitutes and the thieves that kind of get drawn in,
Yeah.
and you don't need to necessarily be virtuous. You just need to repent. And so they argue that that is kind of a just it's terrible. They
Yeah.
don't like it because you don't have to do anything to make yourself technically better.
Interesting.
I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but I get kind of what they're trying to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this was what Celsus expressed. I don't know exactly who the hell that is. Celsus is a guy from, I guess, back then that must be important. He says that I do not, however, accuse the Christians more bitterly than truth compels. Oh, dude, this is going to be a hard old English thing to read. I'm not doing it. All right, let's get past that. The ancient philosophers believed that no man could live intelligently who did not have a fundamental knowledge of nature and her laws. Welcome, welcome, Sarah Boston. Hell yeah. We're talking about the ancient secret societies and the mystery schools. The ancient philosophers believed that no man could live intelligently who did not have a fundamental knowledge of nature and her laws. Before man can obey, he must understand, and the mysteries were devoted to instructing man of the divine law in the terrestrial sphere we live in and how to manipulate it, magic, etc.
Yeah.
Right? That's where that shit comes from. So the earliest call to actually worshipped anthropomorphic deities. Although their symbolism might lead one to believe that they did, they were actually moralistic rather than religious type figures, philosophic rather than theologic.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys that we look at back then, they weren't dogmatic about them the way that people are today about Allah or God or whatever, right?
Sure.
That's how people are, dude. The solar deity was usually personified as a beautiful youth with long golden hair to symbolize the rays of the sun. This golden sun was slain by wicked ruffians who personified the evil principle of the universe. So this is like all about the pagan sun god pantheon we're going to get into here.
All
By
right.
means of certain rituals and ceremonies symbolic of purification and regeneration, this wonderful God of good was brought back to life and became the savior of his people. The secret process is hereby was the resurrected, symbolized by the cultures by means of which man is able to overcome his lower nature, master his appetites, and give expression to the higher side of himself. That's what that
All right.
symbolizes, right? So it's not a real literal death. It's more the idea of an ego death of your lower self as you rise up above it. So
Yeah.
that is the idea of like Gnostic, you know, that's that's why I don't 100%, they're not all evil. As he said, this ideology and philosophy isn't 100% wrong, but as he said, there's sorcerers, if you will, that can use it and manipulate and use it for power, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Dr. Time, Saturn is Satan. Yes, that's true. Agreed. I mean, it's a representation of the god of time, which is Satan. And yeah, definitely 100%. But yeah, it's crazy. All right, where were we at here, Justin? I'm just kidding. The mysteries were organized for the purpose of assisting the struggling human nature to reawaken the spiritual powers which surrounded the flaming ring of lust and degeneracy, lay him asleep within his soul. In other words, man was offered a way by which he could regain his lost estate,
Whoa.
essentially his way in heaven, his way in paradise,
Right.
where man fell and out of the garden, right? Because of the fall of man. And so
Mm,
we could regain it.
damn.
It's pretty deep shit, dude. That's why I like reading this shit, because it's like, bro, it's deep. Space prohibits a detailed discussion of the secret schools. There were literally scores of ancient cults with branches in all parts of Eastern and Western worlds. Some, such as the Pythagoras and the Hermeticists, show a decided Oriental influence, while the Rosicrucians, according to their own proclamations, gain much of their wisdom from the Arabian mystics. Although the mystery schools were usually associated with civilization, there's evidence that most uncivilized people of prehistoric times had a knowledge of these mysteries. Natives of distant islands, many of the lowest forms of savagery, have mystic rituals and secret practices, which alludes to the fact that these are deities that anybody can contact. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about tribes, you know what I mean? That savage, but they still had the same kind of practices of sacrifice or ritual, right? It's indicative of real deities.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about. Talk about prehistoric people. You kind of think a caveman or some shit like that. Think they're stupid.
Yeah, dude. No, smart.
Smart.
Like the druidic mysteries, a lot of America's stuff is based off of the druidic kind of mystery stuff, but
Mm.
the original primitive inhabitants of Britain at some remote period revived and reformed their national institutes. Their priest instructor had hitherto been simply this is gonna be another one of those old English ones, gang. It's bad, dude. He's got people where he'll take excerpts from people, because you got to think, bro. This guy was writing this book in like 1920, 1930. You know what I mean? Long time ago. And then
Yeah.
the people that he's quoting, forget about it, dude.
Older than that.
So sometimes it's like, dude, I don't want to lose people, bro. It'll get too much.
Yeah, if you start sounding like a fucking squire from back in the day.
Squire. Yeah, dude. And really, it's just a bunch of bullshit about the druids, honestly. The druid, which means wise man, a sorcerer. Sanskrit for Drew means timber. That's why they worship trees, I guess. But they were priests and physicians, curing by magnetism and charging amulets with their fluidic influence. The
Mm,
Druids were wild, bro. They were using magnets back then.
that's
Magnetism.
crazy.
Their universal remedies were the mistletoe and the serpent eggs, because these substances attract the astral light in a special manner. The mistletoe was cut down, drew upon the planet in popular confidence, and rendered it powerfully magnetic. The progress of magnetism will someday reveal to us the absorbing properties of the mistletoe. So
What
he's
the
saying that,
fuck?
like, dude, he's saying one day science is going to prove that the mistletoe has some real properties to it, and these guys weren't crazy.
Okay.
Once we like keep studying magnetism, I guess, is what he's trying to say.
I'm here
Isn't that
for
wild?
it.
I'm
I'm
here
here
for it,
for it.
dude. So we shall then understand the secret of the spongy growths, which drew the unused virtues of plants and became supercharged or surcharged with tinctures and savors. Okay, he just one must not move quicker than science, which recedes that it may advance further. So he's saying that you gotta respect the science of nature, dude. You gotta be one with it, and you can't just dominate over it.
Yeah.
So the proximity of the British Isles to the lost Atlantis may account for the sun worship, which plays the important part in the rituals of Druidism. According to the series, Persephone were worshipped on an island close to the Britain with rites and ceremonies similar to those of Samothrace. There is no doubt that the Druidic pantheon includes a large number of Greek and Roman deities. So, in other words, it's all the same. The
Mm.
Druidic mysteries were not indigenous to Britain or Gaul, but migrated from one of the more ancient civilizations. So the school of the Druids were divided into three distinct parts, and the secret teachings embodied therein are practically the same as the mysteries concealed under the allegories of the Blue Lodge masonry, which is like the when you get into a lodge, like originally, it'll be the Blue Lodge, and then when
Yeah.
you get to third rank of that, that's when you can go to like Scottish Rite, and then when you're like Master Mason Scottish Rite, then you can go to uh the Moolah Shrine, the
Yeah.
Shriners. So you have to like kind of do it that way.
Hmm.
Pretty nuts. Temple of Solomon, modern day circuit board. Yeah, dude, for sure. I've seen some stuff that says that Jesus went up to Ireland. I wonder about that sometimes. There could be something to it. So the cross and the serpent were sacred to the Druids, who made the former of cutting off all the branches of an oak tree and fastening one of them to the main trunk of the former to form the letter T. So they were into that shit. The Druids also are believed to have worshipped Mercury under the similitude of a stone cube. They
Dude.
worship Mercury under a stone cube. So in Druidic traditions, they worship the stone cube represents Mercury. Now, it may be baffling to some people when we all know that the cube of Saturn and the
Mhm.
Saturn worship, right? But Mercury also, if this is Greek, which we know that this came from Greek, right? Well, who was Mercury?
Yeah.
Hermes. Hermes, the messenger god, right? So Saturn isn't even really like Saturn's the Titan. You know, the Titan, whenever you look in Greek. So you have different pantheons that do things differently. And that's why as you read this book, you'll hear some things reference this deity under this planet, but then in another, like Roman will be Mars, and another one will be something else, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't actually happen with Mars, but more like Mercury and Venus. Mercury and Venus is one that goes back and forth a little bit. But there's things like that you notice where you're like, oh shit, it becomes almost hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
These
Dude,
are
I
different
saw
cultures.
we've been talking about like Q and then on Instagram the other day, I follow a lot of DJs who do dubstep and shit. And
Oh yeah.
there's just been this fucking random thing that started a couple months ago, and it's this little like cube thing. It's this little like rubber cube, and it lights up and shit. But it's from a company called Cult of Cube. And when I saw that, I
Oh,
was like, "Shit,
Justin, they're
no
so open
way,
about it.
dude!
They're super open about it in the gaming world and in the EDM world because they are like, you guys don't have a clue.
It's
That's really
such a
what they're thinking.
yeah, dude." Because like, I mean, it's supposed to be just like a goofy little thing, but it's like, bro,
No,
what the
yeah.
fuck?
Yeah. Cubes are
Oh
the new age
man,
religion. Yeah.
it
Well,
made me think.
the polished cube represents the perfected man. And the perfected man is Saturn worship, man, at the end of the day, because Saturn is the last ring of heaven that you have to pass through in order to get out of this realm that the Gnostic demiurge created.
Yeah.
That is why it is the main one to worship, you know. But in druidic mysteries, Mercury is the sign for the stone cube.
Mhm.
Something to think about there. Pretty crazy. Saturn is the sixth and final stage. I believe it's the ninth inside of Gnosticism. It would be the ninth. But we could pull it up. As a matter of fact, this has a diagram of it right here.
Oh, you can kinda see through the oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so that's it right there. So these would be the heavens you pass through. So right there, these are the zodiacs. You'd have to pass through these rings. Now let's count the rings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess. So it's about 9. You know what I mean? 9 is
About
what?
9.
No, it's 9. 9 is what it was. If I saw 8 and then the core was probably the ninth one. So plus my oh, you can't forget the Earth realm, right? The Earth realm, the one that's not even right here, that would be probably
Midgard?
the middle. Yeah, in the middle, dude, the middle. Anyway, so
Yeah,
come on,
yeah.
man. And also, this is like the book cover. We can find the real picture in here and we can fucking do it for real. Don't play with me, dude. Don't play with me, dude. Motherfuckers
Oh,
love to do
shit.
semantics, dude. People love semantics, bro. Wait, I'm just kidding. Not anybody here. I was just talking shit about other people. You know
He
what I mean?
said, "Wait."
Do you guys recognize this symbol? Speaking of Mercury and Hermes,
He
that's
got a
Hermes.
dog with him.
He's standing on a dragon. Do you know that
Facts.
that dragon represents like so in Egyptian theology, technically God, the one that wants you to have a sovereign life and be
Mhm.
independent and have your own identity, that represents the dragon. So the slaying of the dragon actually goes back to the killing of that god and getting rid of individuality for the idea of Christ consciousness, where we are all one and we move in a hive mentality. And that's why one of the symbols for Freemasonry is the beehive.
Damn.
Isn't that nuts? And
It
then look
is
at the
nice.
beehive. It's got the same shape as what's inside of the Star of David and what's on top of the Saturn,
Yeah.
right? That's fucking crazy, isn't it?
Damn.
Get deep right there. It's the hexagon. Yeah, let's go. Okay, so during the fourth period of 3,000 years, the power of Ahriman will be destroyed. How did we get to Ahriman already? Hold on a second, dude. We got to get, hold on. Oh, shit.
Armand
I lost my
Sarugian.
page, but it's okay because we're here. The rights of Mithras. This is important right here. So, the rights of Mithras, I think that Trump might be like this Mithraic deity figure, technically, to a lot of people. He's got the golden hair, he's got the red hat, which is like the hat for Mithras is a red cap. So,
Mm.
there's a lot of like weird symbolic things, the cut of the right ear, things like that. Zoroastrianism, which is like predates, Abrahamic religion, you know what I mean? And it's all about Mithraic. We'll get into it because it's pretty fucking crazy. But do you remember us talking about Ahriman before, whenever we talked about Rudolf Steiner
Yep.
and how he channeled Ahriman? This is the deity. The Ahriman is the evil deity from Mithraism.
Okay.
Mazda, Ahura Mazda. Mazda is the evil god as well in this.
That's
What
crazy
card?
how people be driving cars.
Bro, yes. Exactly, dude. Like they name shit. So Ahura Mazda is the evil deity in Mithraism, in Zoroastrianism rather. And I think that that's pretty crazy. So,
Damn.
when the Persian mysteries immigrated into Southern Europe, they were quickly assimilated by Latin mind. The cult grew rapidly, especially among the Roman soldiers. And during the Roman wars of conquest and teaching, were carried by legionnaires to nearly all parts of Europe. So powerful did the cult of Mithras become that at least one emperor was initiated into the order, which met in caverns under the city of Rome. Concerning the spread of this mystery school through different parts of Europe, C.W. King and his Gnostics and Their Remains says Mithraic bas reliefs cut on the faces of the rock and stone tablets still abound in the countries formerly of the West Province of the Roman Empire. Many exist in Germany. I remember seeing a thing about like Rome and everything and how they talked about underground tunnels or underground rooms.
Yeah.
I think that they were hinting at this without saying it. You know what I'm saying? They do that shit on like the History Channel. They'd be
Yeah.
like, they would have meetings down here and do weird shit with candlelit, they would hint, practically say it without saying it.
Yeah. They would kind of. It's got. Yeah,
They really
yeah.
would.
I'm just envisioning like one of them fucking weird like historian voices, like the Discovery Channel dude. He's
Hmm.
like saying that shit.
Yeah. Like my favorite is Pompeii whenever they talk about the bathhouses. And then they try to do it in a way where they act like they say that people did freaky shit there
Yeah,
without saying it. People got freaky, dude, in Pompeii, dude. People were getting freaky. Did you know they had heated floors?
that's crazy.
They had heated floors in Pompeii, bro. Like
Super freaks.
they had some Atlantean technology going on there. You know
They
what I
were
mean?
going crazy barefooted.
Yeah, and they were chilling in them bathhouses, playing with little boys and all kinds of shit. But it's
Oh
crazy
no.
because yeah, I went to an exhibition at a museum for Pompeii recently. And they had a room. It was like off to the right. It was like in the cut. You had to like go out of your way to go into this little booth. And in that booth was a bunch of like little penis sculptures and a bunch of little shit that people had all around their house because people were super into it. Showed people's houses and how they were super into sex, bro. It
They
was
were just
part of
into
their
dicks.
yeah. Because a part of all this
What the
stuff.
fuck?
Remember what I said earlier, dude? The Eleusinian cults and the ISIS cults, they would do drugs and go get naked and do sex parties. That's what all this is, man.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's the way the culture lived.
That's
Sex,
fucking.
drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, bro. That's the way they fucking live,
They were
dude.
rocking and rolling with them heated floors, dude.
Yeah, and that's why it's resurging now because there's some people that believe that hell is one big party and
Yeah.
that like it is literally just a party, sex,
Yeah, it
drugs, rock
never
and roll.
ends.
Like
Yep.
that's yep.
I've heard that before.
And that's what we're talking about here, dude. So Mithras was a male and a female aspect, though not himself androgynous. As Mithras, he is the lord of the sun, powerful and radiant, and most magnificent of the Yazatas. As Mithra, this deity represents the feminine principle. The mundane universe is recognized as her symbol. She represents nature as receptive and terrestrial, and as fruitful only when bathed in the glory of the solar orb. The Mithraic cult is a simplification of the more elaborate teachings of Zoroaster, the Persian fire magician. According to the Persians, there coexisted in eternity two principles. The first of these, Ahura Mazda or Ormuzd, was the spirit of good. Ooh, my bad. I switched that up earlier. He's the spirit of good. Came forth a number of hierarchic of good and beautiful spirits. The second of these eternally existing principles was Ahriman. That's the one from earlier. Rudolf Steiner, the evil one that is more about materiality, the
Mm.
material god. Saturn represents that in the Gnostic teachings.
Yeah.
He was a pure and beautiful spirit, but he later rebelled against Ormuzd. Doesn't that sound familiar? Pure and beautiful spirit, but he later rebelled against Ormuzd, which is like the other main god.
Yeah.
So in other words, this is like pure Satan, like most beautiful angel, and then he, right? So it's the same story, and it predates
Yeah.
Christianity. It predates Christianity a little bit.
Mm.
So this did not. Uh, he later rebelled against Ormuzd, being jealous of his power. This did not occur, however, until Ormuzd had created light. For previously, Ahriman had not been conscious of the existence of Ormuzd. And because of his jealousy and rebellion, Ahriman became the spirit of evil. From himself, they individualized a host of destructive creatures to injure Ormuzd. So this is the whole dude. This is kind of a cool little story, how this shit
Yeah.
goes. It's like reading like our Bible's not as cool as this. I mean, I'm joking right now, but you know what I mean? Like I like seeing other people's way of describing the same thing. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah.
When Ormuzd created the earth, Ahriman entered it into its grosser elements. And whenever Ormuzd did a good deed, Ahriman rather replaced the principle of it with evil within it. So it's just the idea of yin and yang and everything. It's the balance of everything.
Right.
At last, when Ormuzd created the human race, Ahriman became incarnate in the lower nature of man, so that in each personality of the spirit of good and the spirit of evil struggle for control. So everybody has the spirit of good and evil in them. And how much Ahriman do you got in you? How much you let your bad thoughts win and your impulsive thoughts win? You
Yeah.
got more of them in you every time you do that. You got more of that spirit growing, right? That's the idea.
Mm.
It's pretty fucking dope. For 3,000 years, Ormuzd ruled the celestial worlds with light and goodness. Then he created man, and for another 3,000 years, he ruled man with wisdom and integrity. Then the power of Ahriman began, and the struggle of the soul of man continues through the next period of 3,000 years. And during the fourth period of 3,000 years, the power of Ahriman will be destroyed. So this is very similar to like the idea of like Revelation shit.
Yeah.
And good will return to the world again. Evil and death will be vanquished. Mithras, god of intelligence, stands as mediator between the two. Many authors have noted the similarities between Mercury and Mithras. As the chemical mercury acts as a solvent, so Mithras seeks to harmonize the two celestial opposites. So it just kind of gets into how there's a lot of resemblance with Christianity in the cult of Mithras, and which makes sense that Trump would be, the Christian Messiah, right?
Yeah, of
It's
course.
easy to convince the Christians, into this whenever there is so many things connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
This gets into the idea of this December 25th and where that really comes from, because that's when the sun dies and is reborn. Uh, this cave was adorned in the signs of the zodiac, Cancer and Capricorn, the cave that he was reborn out of. The summer and winter solstices, they were chiefly conspicuous because what they're saying is that the solstices is when the sun dies, and that's all it really represents. You can
Yeah.
kind of test that a little bit. What's up, Jeezy Mac? The so-called chair of St. Peter in Rome was believed to have been used in one of the pagan mysteries, possibly that of Mithras. Damn, dude. So they're using Roman Catholic chairs in the pagan mysteries. That's like super blasphemous. You know what I mean?
That's super blasphemous.
That's super blasphemous, dude. Initiations into the rites of Mithras, like initiations into any other ancient mystery schools of philosophy, apparently consisted of three important degrees. Preparation for these degrees consisted of self purification, the building up of the intellectual powers, and the control of the animal nature of oneself.
Mm.
In the first degree, the candidate was given a crown upon the point of a sword and instructed in the mysteries of the Mithras' hidden power. Probably he was taught that the golden crown represented his own spiritual nature, which must be objectified and unfolded before he could truly glorify Mithras, because Mithras was his own soul, standing as a mediator between Ormuzd, his spirit, and Ahriman, his animal nature. Isn't that crazy, bro? That's pretty
Yeah.
deep little sentence right there, dude. And I mean, it is. In the second degree, he was given the armor of intelligence and purity and sent into the darkness of subterranean pits to fight the beast of lust, passion, and degeneracy. It all comes down to what we talked about before, man, the animalistic
Yeah.
nature got to overcome. In the third degree, he was given a cape upon which were drawn or woven the signs of the zodiac and other astronomical symbols. After his initiations were over, he was hailed as one who is risen from the dead. And this is where that George H.W. If you're asking if I've been born again, the answer is yes. Right? They literally do this in the cults, man. They
Yeah.
rise them from the dead. So candidates who successfully passed the Mithraic initiation were called lions, like the Lion of Judah, and were marked upon their foreheads with the Egyptian cross. And that's why they say you're raised up by the lion's paw. And then Israel, their bombing campaign is called like Operation Lion or some shit, or Lion's Paw.
Damn, dude.
Hey, man, it's deep.
Yeah, dude.
That's what I mean.
Bro, as
The
he
cult
was
of
writing this shit, he's sitting there like, fucking writing bangers
bangers,
and shit, dude.
dude, bangers, bro. Could you imagine? Could you imagine being this guy? He's like, bro, when the cult of Mithras did not reach the philosophic heights attained by Zoroaster, it its effect upon the civilization of the Western world was far-reaching, and that's what we see today. Here it is. The reference to the lion and the grip of the lion's paw in the Master Mason's degree have a strong Mithraic tinge and may easily have originated from this cult. The 7 rungs appear in Mithraic initiation. It always is 7.
Mm,
That's that 6-7 shit. We kind of went into it on that rap occult rap shit. We were talking. Have you heard like the 6-7 craze with all the kids
it's so
and whatnot?
retarded.
Yeah, but do you know where it comes from?
No.
So 6 represents man, right?
Yeah.
That's what it represents. 7 represents illuminated man, right? Or like 7 seals, 7 heavens, 7 hells, 7
Yeah.
hermetic principles, right? Like we just talked about. You have to go up the 7 ladder rungs to get to the top. So the thing is, though, it's being pushed by rappers who talk about doing sacrifices with goats and fucking chickens and everything else. And so it's the idea of doing bad things to get ahead and go up. So it's instead of man being enlightened by doing like what we're talking about, perfecting himself, they're talking
Yeah.
about doing fucked up things. 6, 7 could be good or bad, but they're saying it in a bad way because they're talking about doing drugs and everything else. So do the worst things you can do in order to get as high as you can attain. It's the
Okay.
inversion, dude, of what we're reading about. And that's what 6, 7 really is kind of breaks down to.
All right. That's pretty deep.
It is though, but that's what it is, man. Like, I mean, 6, 7 Unk, right? 607 Unk. Remember we talked about him before? And he was like, he's like talks about Gnostic shit, but in a way where it's like so bad and like
Yeah.
dumb that yeah, but 6, 7 is in his name. Lil Wayne, 6 foot, 7 foot,
8 foot,
right?
9 foot.
Yeah, but that's a song, 6 foot, 7 foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I mean, bro. Like, there's something about the 6, 7. Motherfucker's been saying it, dude. It's not like the first time, you know? People just don't think on that deep plane. That's all.
Yeah.
So, the ancient mysteries and the secret societies, the entire history of Christian and pagan Gnosticism is shrouded in the deepest mystery and obscurity. For while the Gnostics were undoubtedly prolific writers, little of their literature has survived. They brought down upon themselves the animosity of the early Christian church, and so they were destroyed for the most part. And when this institution reached its position of world power, it destroyed all available records of the Gnostic cultus. The name Gnostic means wisdom or knowledge and is derived from the Greek gnosis. The member of the order claimed to be familiar with the secret doctrines of early Christianity, and they interpreted the Christian mysteries according to pagan symbolism. So it's a mixture of Christianity and pagan symbolism, and their secret information and philosophic tenets they concealed from the profane and taught to a small group of only special initiated people.
Mm.
So essentially, Gnosticism is the Christian secret society, you know what I mean? Like mixture of like all this shit. And it seems to have grown over time and like been reborn almost. Pretty wild. Where we at here? The evil spirits, when so ordered by the great saint, were forced to obey. Simon felt, oh yeah, he's talking about Simon, how he was able to like control spirits.
The homie Simon.
Yeah, Simon fell a great distance and was killed, which decisively proved the superiority of the Christian powers. This story is undoubtedly manufactured out of the whole cloth. We'll go a little bit past that. Where we at? But this is where to understand. I don't want to read this whole story though, but maybe I will. To you, therefore, I say, and I write, the writing of this, of the universal eons, there are two shoots without beginning or end, springing from one root, which is the power invisible, inapprehensible silence of the dude. This is gonna be one. See, sometimes whenever you read these people's stuff, it sounds like a schizophrenic, and it's like, you know, it's like, bro,
Yeah.
what do you?
It kind of
No,
does.
I mean, really, dude. Of these shoots, one is manifested from above, which is the great power and universal mind, ordering all things male and other. From below, the great thought female, producing all things. Hence,
I'm
pairing
saying.
with each other, they unite and manifest the middle distance, incomprehensible. You see what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
it's a
I
lot to
get
wrap your head around.
too
Imagine
much.
finding that in a notebook somewhere, just like a
Yeah,
random.
yeah.
Like
Dude,
what the fuck?
people look at my shit, my notes and shit. This is the reaction they would have. They'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, dude,
Be
that
like, what
guy,
the fuck was this dude smoking?
whoa, dude." So, by this, we are to understand that manifestation is the result of positive and negative principle, one acting upon the other, and it takes place in the middle plane. That's what he was trying to say with that analogy.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to say it this way. Manifestation is the result of a positive and negative principle, one acting upon the other, and it takes place here in the middle plane or the point of equilibrium called pleroma. This
Mm.
pleroma is a peculiar substance produced out of the blending of the spiritual and material eons. So they give it a name. Out of the pleroma was individualized the demiurges, the immortal mortals to whom we are responsible for our physical existence and the suffering we must go through in connection with it.
Sick.
Damn. So they're saying we're connected with these motherfuckers like on a pleroma level. You know,
Lorma level, dude.
pleroma level. In the Gnostic system, three pairs of opposites called Psyches emanated from the Eternal One. These with himself make the total of seven. The six, dude. All right, get ready for this one. The six, three pairs, eons were described by Simon in the following manner. The first two were the mind, the thought, then the voice, and its opposite, name, and lastly, reason and reflection. From these primordial six united with the eternal flame and came forth the eons or angels. That's crazy, bro. So they're saying thought, voice, name, mind, reason, and reflection created the eternal flame, which is where the angels came forth. dude,
All right, dude.
dude, we're getting into it.
Fucking A.
Fuck, dude, we're deep right now. Who formed the lower worlds through the direction of the demiurge? How this first Gnosticism of Simon Magus, his discipline was amplified and frequently distorted by later adherents of the cult, must now be considered. Okay, so he's saying now he's gonna get into how people fucked up this story. But dude, that's crazy, bro.
Bro, dude. I just took my shoes off.
Dude, dude, your fucking dogs are getting hot, bro. You pull the dogs out. The school of Gnosticism was divided into two major parts. Now, this kind of is important because we can maybe trace this a little. The
Mm.
Syrian cult and the Alexandrian cult. These schools agreed on the essentials, but the latter division was more inclined and pantheistic, while the former was dualistic. The Syrian cult was largely Siminoan. The Alexandrian cult was the outgrowth of the deductions of clever Egyptian Christians. Okay, so the Alexandrian might be the better one, I would argue.
All right.
Maybe, because the Library of Alexandria, that's probably where they got all these ideas from.
Right.
The Alexandrian Basilides inculcated Egyptian Hermeticism, Oriental occultism, Chaldean astrology, and Persian philosophy. In his followers and in his doctrine, sought to unite the school of early Christianity with the ancient pagan mysteries. But here, this gets into the shit I talked about before. To him is attributed the formulation of this particular concept of the deity, which carries the name of Abraxas.
Mm.
So this guy came up with that idea. The Celtic Druids has demonstrated that the numerological powers of the letters forming the word Abraxas, when added together, result in the sum of 365. 365 degrees is how much a circle is. That's how many days are in a year. And that's because of the deity Abraxas, aka the chicken snake god.
Well, you said 365 degrees in a circle.
Oh, shit, gang. No, man, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely said that. I'm just kidding. Powers in the universe were divided into 365 eons or spiritual cycles, and that the sums of all these together was the Supreme Father, and him he gave the Kabbalistic appellation Abraxas. It's symbolical of the numerologically of his divine powers, attributes, and emanations. He's a composite creature with the body of a human being, the head of a rooster, and his legs were serpent snakes. It's pretty nuts, dude. Pretty fucking nuts, dude.
That
Some
is
people
not.
might be keeping up, following along. We're getting through this. We'll go through our little chat a little bit. We got some shit. What's up? What's up? Sarah, hello. Equilibrium, what's up? Saturn Satan, hello. Equilibrium, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
We're a little past it. Ethereal, earth, stone, bronze, silver, then gold. Alchemical, hell yeah. Kronos is the father of the Titans. Damn right. Saturn is the sixth and final stage. Is it the 6 or 9? Pluto's 9. Pluto's 9. I've never seen that. Well, it's okay because there's a Gnostic chapter that we will get to in here, and we will get down to the bottom. As a matter of fact, why do we gotta wait? Let's find out, dude. Because well, maybe I should go to the index. You go ahead and keep reading the. Oh wait, you can't see the fucking comments, can you?
Yeah, I can only see the ones that are popping up on the screen here.
That's weird, dude. Why is it like that?
I don't know.
Well, you're gonna have to give me an answer.
I wish I could, dude.
Well,
Ask the duck.
it's
Gotta ask the
unacceptable.
duck guy, bro.
Absolutely unacceptable.
I don't know the duck guy like you do.
Yeah, dude. Unacceptable. I mean, I guess we're on it. We're on the Gnostic shit now, so we'll see if it mentions anything about uh the levels you have to pass through. No, I don't think it does. Oh, let's check this out. The Gnostics divided humanity into three parts: those who, as savages, worshipped only the visible nature, those who, like Jews, worshipped the demiurge. Wow. Wow. Holy shit, dude. This might be the realest paragraph we read all night, dude. Check this out. The
All right.
Gnostics divided humanity into three parts, dude. Those, as savages, who worshipped only nature, those who, like Jews, worshipped the demiurge, and lastly, others of a similar cult, including certain sects of Christians who worshipped Christ and the true spiritual light of the higher eons.
Damn.
Damn. Damn. They worship the fallen. What do I always say, dude? Whenever I'm talking about the Jews and Zionists, I'm just saying,
Yep.
dude. Not all of them, I'm just saying. And that's who's infiltrated Freemasonry. You know what I mean? When we want to talk about who's infiltrated Freemasonry, well, it'd be the ones that are worshiping the demiurge.
Yeah.
Just saying. Because it's very easy to take Gnostic teachings that are inside of Freemasonry and turn it into the worship of the demiurge. That shit ain't hard.
Mm.
So yeah, we're powering through this. Odin, you got the Odin mysteries. You got the ancient mysteries and secret societies. Didn't I? Oh, part 2. An ancient initiate once said that the living are ruled by the dead. Only those conversant with the Eleusinian concept of life could understand that statement. It means that the majority of people are not ruled by their living spirits, but by their senses, animal personalities. Transmigration and the reincarnation were taught in these mysteries, but in somewhat unusual manner. It was believed that at midnight, the invisible words were closest to the terrestrial sphere, and that souls coming into material existence slipped in during the midnight hour. This is why during the witching hours, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., it's pretty wild.
Mm.
We got a bunch here. We could get into some more of this one or other, maybe another chapter later, because there's not too much crazy shit to finish up in this one.
Yeah.
Ooh, the life and writings of Thoth and Hermes, thrice greatest, Trismegistus. I think that's the one that we're gonna do next week, dude.
Trismegistus.
Yeah, dude, Hermes, bro. We're gonna get into Hermes.
All
Hermes
right.
is that's the big deal, dude. Hermes. Let's just start off with the beginning here, so everybody could see, you know.
Give a little prelude.
Yep. Little prelude to next week, the life and writings of Thoth, Hermes, Trismegistus,
All right.
thrice greatest. Thunder rolled, lightning flashed. The veil of the temple was rent from top to bottom. The venerable initiator in his robes of blue and gold slowly raised his jeweled wand and pointed with it into the darkness revealed by the tearing of the silken curtain. Behold the lights of Egypt. The candidate in his plain white robe gazed into the utter blackness framed into two great lotus-headed columns between which the veil had hung. Two pillars between two pillars, they had something which the veil hung. That's like the Masonic pillars.
Mm.
Because this is a initiation room. That's why, there's a dude in a white robe and there's like
Yeah.
blue and gold. Yeah. That's it's framing an initiation, but this is like something that goes all the way back to Egypt right here. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Straight initiation fucking thing right here.
That shit is deep.
Face, yeah, dude. The face of the neophyte was illumined by the soft glow as he scanned the shimmering cloud for some tangible object. The initiator spoke again. This light which ye hold is the secret illuminance of the mysteries. Whence it comes, none knoweth, save the master of the light. Behold him. Suddenly, through the gleaming mist, a figure appeared, surrounded by a flickering greenish sheen. The initiator lowered his wand and, bowing his head, placed one hand edgewise against his breast in humble salutation. The neophyte stepped back in awe, partly blinded by the glory of the revealed figure. Gaining courage, the youth gazed again in the divine one. The form before him was considerably larger than that of a mortal man. The body seemed partly transparent so that the heart and brain could be seen, pulsating and radiant like man used to be, like we talked about, where the
Yeah.
pineal gland could see through the body. They were transparent. They talk about the Nephilim. The Nephilim used to be transparent because they were half God, half man, right? Yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy. I started reading some more about that today, dude.
Damn.
Yeah, so we're going to keep going, but that's crazy, right? The body seemed partly transparent. As the candidate watched, the heart changed into an ibis and the brain into a flashing emerald. In its hand, by the way, who put an emerald in his forehead?
Yeah, look.
Lucifer.
Yeah, yeah.
Lil Uzi Vert. But
Yeah.
who are we talking about right here? This is Lucifer. And what did he have? His heart changed into an ibis, and in his flashing brain into a flashing emerald, or his brain turned into a flashing emerald. Come on, bro.
Mm.
That's pretty weird when we're talking about. All right. So the aged initiator, raising his wand, cried out in a loud voice. All hail thee, Thoth, Hermes, thrice greatest. All hail thee, Prince of Men. All hail thee, who stand upon the head of Typhon, that dragon from earlier. At the same instant, a lurid writhing dragon appeared, a hideous monster, part serpent, part crocodile, and part hog.
What the
From
fuck?
its mouth and nostrils poured sheets of flame, and horrible sounds echoed through the vaulted chambers. Suddenly, Hermes struck the advancing reptile with the serpent wound staff, and with snarling cry, the dragon fell over upon its head. While the flames about it slowly died, Hermes placed his foot upon the skull of the vanishing Typhon, and the next instant, with a blaze of unbearable glory that sent the neophyte staggering backward against a pillar, the immortal Hermes, followed by streamers of greenish mist, passed away and then into nothingness. This is just an initiation, right? And so during initiations, what it is it's like a movie when you watch a movie. It's a theatrical play. It's a play. When you watch a play, that's representative of what goes on in these rooms when they're
Yeah.
doing an initiation. That's what a play is. Plays come from these temples where they did this shit. Shakespeare, right? We talked about that. So it all comes from the same place. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. Damn.
We're starting to realize what our history is, aren't we, Justin?
A little bit.
We're learning, dude. What the real deal is, you know what I mean? Like, where does this come from? Like,
Yeah,
you
dude.
know, that's cool.
Figuring shit out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what we got here? Modern day Jews are not real Jews. Okay, those that are Jews are currently the Jews. Okay, yeah, we're in the Jews part. Hell yeah. Both the Twin Towers in New York City were the two columns. Yes, they are. Joachim and yep. It was an Israeli deep state attack. Yes, yes, yes. Were they solid as well as transparent? Well, they were solid enough to see them, but also transparent in a weird way, right? Hard to explain that one, but once we
Yeah.
get into the
I-
once we get into the secret history of the world that we talked about last time, it'll make more sense.
Mm.
History ends in green Google. Terrence McKenna. I know Terrence McKenna is. We can talk about him sometime as well. The psychonaut. He's probably had crazy visions of the future, I'm sure, at the very least.
Mm.
The green is emerald. You know, Osiris is emerald too. The color of him. Align energy to the ritual. Hell yeah. Yep, I believe it. So that was an initiation ceremony going on for the cult of, I would assume, Freemasonry, but it goes all the way back to the Egyptian mystery school initiation. I guarantee you in the king's chamber, this is the type of shit they were doing, dude.
Yeah.
Like I talked about with Plato. So stay tuned. We got so much
Well,
more of this book to get through, dude. We got so much more of this book. I mean,
yeah, we got a bit.
I skipped over a bunch of the ancient like it gets into the weeds, you know? But that's okay. We're gonna skim we're gonna skim it, but we're gonna get the good stuff out of it. That's what
Right.
matters.
We gonna go into the thicket and pull
Yeah.
the gold out, dude.
We give our own context here. He gives a lot of context in this book, and that's great. But we don't need all of his context on top of ours, right? So we take the important, pertinent details out of it.
Yeah.
But hell yeah, man, we're gonna get out of here. Namaste, everybody. We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all later, dude. We got Tony Arterburn coming on. A little bit of that gold and silver. Maybe get you guys locked in on some assets. We also got Jason Bassier coming on. That's gonna be a banger. Justin was Kang's.
Not
Hell
sure what
yeah,
that
dude.
means, but hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hey, thanks, Jeezy Mac. What's he mean he's Kang's, bro? Because he's a king? You got the king hat? Or what are we talking
Oh,
about?
I don't know, I guess.
He's a Kang.
I'm a Kang, dude.
Yeah, dude. Kang. But fuck yeah, dude. We had a good time.
Sure.
A little bit more of that book club. Probably next time we'll hit it a little bit harder. We'll see how it goes. But you know, some are longer than others. That's how it is in the book club world. And by the way, we call it a book club, but hey, nobody's probably even read the book, and we don't got anybody to talk to. So it's more like we're gonna go over the book and read some of it if we have to. You know what I mean? So that's how it goes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about your hat. But yeah, we'll see y'all later. And right on. Peace.